Hello everyone and welcome to this video where I'm going to be ranking all of Radiohead's studio albums in this tier list. Obviously I've done a few videos like this with Queen and the Beatles, blah blah blah, so you get the gist if you've seen one of them. Let's get into it. So quickly, obviously we've got the tiers here. S is going to be for like superb albums, it's just the best of the best, you can't fault it. A is going to be really decent albums, just not quite perfect. Then B are going to be the good albums. They're not bad, but they're not amazing. They're just good albums. C is then gonna be for kind of the lesser, kind of okay. It's a bit meh. It's maybe a few good songs, but yeah. And D is just gonna be dreadful. Whether we get any in D, we'll see. Let's just get straight into it. So starting us off, obviously going in release order, we've got Pablo Honey. Now, I don't think it's D, but it's definitely a C. It's not god awful, but it is definitely no more than a C. Realistically, is there anything really wrong with the album? No. I think it just has the misfortune of being the first album, and with hindsight, we know what comes next. But it's not bad. It's probably aged a bit. If looking at the track listing, there's still about 4 songs on here I like. Obviously, you got Creep, which I'm not going to sit here and slander Creep. I'm not going to try and act all, oh, Creep is overrated. Creep is a good song. There's a reason it got as popular as it did, because it is a good song. So obviously Creep's on this album. I Like You, obviously. Anyone Can Play Guitar, I also like that song. And Vegetable as well, I quite like that. But other than that, the rest is kind of forgettable. It's not bad, but it's kind of just mediocre. So next we have The Bends. I really like The Bends, so I'm going to put it in A. I think it was a big step up from Pablo Honey. Obviously, it's not S. There's a couple songs on here I could do without, but there's a lot of good songs on here. Obviously, you got things like Fake Plastic Trees, which is a great song, Bulletproof, and one of my all-time favourite Radiohead songs, Full Stop, Street Spirit. I love that song. It's a great closer for the album. It's just not. There's a couple things in here, personally, Just and Black Star. It's kind of just, they're not bad, but they're all right. But there's a lot of good on here. A lot more good than bad. And to be honest, I don't even think Just, which is probably my least favourite song on the album, it's not bad. It's just kind of meh for me. But it's definitely not bad. And it's a big step up from Pablo Honey, just in every way. Okay, next we have OK Computer. It's gonna be a D for me. No, it's S. It's my favourite album. Without a doubt, it is my favourite Radiohead album. It is such a good album. I mean, from start to finish, it is. I cannot put it into words. I mean, I know a lot of people love this album, but you can't even sit there and say it's overrated or everyone picks OK, because it's such a good album. There's a reason everyone loves it. I mean, for me, the first half, the A side of the album, is probably the better half. I mean, the run from Airbag to Karma Police is amazing, and then after that, you get Fitter Happier is not a song. It's not a song, but it's not something that you would put on its own. But it works if you're listening to the album from start to finish. It fits the whole theme of the album, and it works. And if I'm listening to the album from start to finish, I won't skip it. I'll listen to it. But it isn't something you'd put on its own, if you know what I mean. But it adds to the album's whole theme, I suppose. And I mean, even probably the weakest song on the album for me is Electioneering. And even that's a good song. I mean, it's great. And then obviously, even in the second half, No Surprises, Lucky, The Tourist. It's such a good album. I cannot fault it at all. Next, we have Kid A. Now, throughout kind of the Radiohead fanbase, I suppose, you see a lot of debate. Kid A versus OK Computer. For me, I know what I prefer. For me personally, Kid A is not quite perfect. I mean, it is a damn good album, and it's such a change from Pablo Honey to Kid A. I mean, that it's so different, and it is so good. But for me, in comparison to OK Computer, it's just not quite as good. There's just right, let's just go through the track listing. Everything in its right place, brilliant opener, great song. But then after that you have Kid A, which it's not bad, but I probably wouldn't put it on. If I'm shuffling Radiohead or if I'm listening to the album, then I'll probably let it play, but I don't think I'd go out of my way to put it on. However, after that you get the National Anthem and then How to Disappear Completely, which are two brilliant songs. And again, How to Disappear Completely, I am aware, I believe Tom himself has said that it's his favourite Radiohead song, and it's one of my favourites. It's great. But then you get the little Tree Fingers kind of interlude. I guess it's not really an interlude, I don't really know. Again, it's not bad, but it's just why I hold OK Computer a bit higher. Again though, great songs on the album. It's a great album. It's such a leap and difference to what we've seen before, but for me just not quite there. And do remember, this is obviously just my personal opinion, do you know what I mean? Like, there could be someone out there that puts Pablo Honey in S, do you know what I mean? There could be. There probably isn't, but there could be. This is all personal opinion. Next we have Amnesiac. Amnesiac's quite difficult. I actually don't know where I'm going to put it yet. I'm going to talk about it a little bit first. It's not bad, but it's not... I feel like with Kid A, where it's all mainly brilliant, with, for me personally, like a couple just filler songs, Amnesiac's kind of the other way around, whereas most of it to me is kind of a filler. I mean, they're not bad, but the good songs on here are great. So if I just... Life in a Glass House, amazing song. Knives Out and Might Be Wrong, great songs. You and Whose Army, I really love that song. That's probably my favourite on the album. And Pyramid Song, great. They're all great, but the rest of them are kind of just there for me. Like, I mean, some of them, like Polk/Pull Revolving Doors, no, I'd skip that. I'm not a fan of that song at all. And Pat Like Sardines, again, it's alright, but I wouldn't go out my way to put it on, again, with the spinning plate. So, I mean, Morning Bell is okay. The version of Morning Bell on here is alright as well. I like that. I don't know where to put it. I think it's going to go in B. It's weird because when I first listened to the album from start to finish, I knew of Radiohead. When I first discovered them, however, a long time ago, whenever that was now. I'd known of them, and obviously I knew Creep, and I'd known that song for years. And then I somehow stumbled across No Surprises and Exit Music at around the same time, and fell in love with those two songs. So I made the conscious decision I'm going to go on a little tour listening to Radiohead. So I just got every single album from Pablo Honey to A Moonshaped Pool and listened to them in order. And the first time I listened to Amnesiac from start to finish, I really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed listening to it, but the more I revisit it, the more I find myself skipping half of the songs. So I feel like it's weird, but from my first listen, I actually enjoyed listening to it more than I did Kid A. But then with revisits and, multiple listens and, Kid A just went up levels and Amnesiac went down some. It's quite weird, but it is what it is. It's still a good album, but it's just not as good as what's above it. Next we have How to the Thief. Now, like I say, I went on a little discovery tour of I'm just going to listen to them from start to finish, and this was the first one where it was a bit difficult because it's a long album, I think 14 songs, so it's a lot to take in all at once. Obviously now, knowing the album, knowing the songs, it is a good album, but it's, I don't know, it's hard for me. Again, this one's hard. There's a lot of songs on here that I really like. I like A Wolf at the Door, 2 + 2 = 5, obviously that's a great song, a really good opener. Sail to the Moon, I really like that one as well. There, I Will. And Go to Sleep as well, I quite like. But the rest are kind of, again, it all merges for me. I think it's overall a better album than Amnesiac, but I'm not going to put it any higher than that. It's not quite an A for me. Like I say, B is still good albums. It's just S is, perfect, and A is almost perfect, and B is just, it's good, I think, like I say, I think it's 14 songs, I believe. So I think it just had to be cut down a little bit. There's a few songs on there that could have been, personally, I could just do without being in there, and it would make the album a better listen, a cleaner listen. It's just really disorganised, I feel. I don't know how to describe it, but it's still a good album. Next we have In Rainbows. Oh man, this is difficult. It's in S, but is it better than OK Computer? Now, I have said that OK Computer is my favourite Radiohead album, and it is, but more and more and more recently I've been listening to In Rainbows, and it is a damn good album. It is really, really good. And I just want to add as well, if any of you have seen my video where I ranked the songs on this album from worst to best, just take into consideration every single song on this album is good. I like every single song. So even what is in last could switch about. I believe in the video I put All I Need in last, because at the time when I made the video, because I wasn't feeling that song. If I did that video again now, it probably wouldn't be in last. This album is constantly growing and changing for me on what I'm listening to on it and what I'm not. Again, with the first place, I believe in that video I put Weird Fishes in first and Nude in second. I would swap them. Right. If I was to do that video again right now, I'd swap them. Nude is really, I've been listening to that song a lot lately. Anyway, I'm going off track, but I'm really struggling as to whether I put it above OK Computer or not. Remember, these are loose rankings, and it's not a definite, it could change. It's not a definite kind of thing, but I'm really struggling. I'm actually really, really struggling. I think it, for me, it's just the OK Computer is just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit above it, but these two are basically equal, and they're both amazing albums. And In Rainbows is a really, really good album. I mean, these two here are the albums I'd recommend for people that haven't listened to Radiohead, because they're just amazing. Okay, we now have The King of Limbs. This is difficult as well, because I know it's not going anywhere above C. At the very best, it's going to be put in C. But I'm now debating Pablo Honey and The King of Limbs on which is worse. The production on The King of Limbs is a lot better than Pablo Honey. But then I feel like the bad songs, not bad, none of them are bad, but the weaker songs on the album on The King of Limbs are weaker than the weaker songs on Pablo Honey. I think The King of Limbs does get a lot of hate, but it is semi-deserved. Because in comparison to the rest of these up here, even in comparison to Amnesiac, it's just not brilliant. But I don't think I've got the heart to put it in D, because there are about 3 or 4 songs on here that I do actually like. Give Up the Ghost I like, Lotus Flower Codex, and Little by Little, which is... Little by Little is not normally the kind of song I'd actually hold in a high regard. But I actually really like it off that album, which is strange. So it is a hard one, because I'm trying to think if I had to listen to Pablo Honey or The King of Limbs from start to finish right now, which one I'd rather do, and I don't know. It might actually be The King of Limbs. I actually might put The King of Limbs just above Pablo Honey, but it's very loose rankings, very loose. And last but not least, we have A Moon-Shaped Pool. This is a very, very... I mean, Radiohead in itself as a whole is a gloomy kind of sound, I suppose. It's great, but it's gloomy. It's not many of the songs are very... I love the Beatles as well, and 9 times out of 10 you listen to a Beatles song, they're singing about love and it's happy, and it's, there's not many, depressing kind of songs other than the odd few. Whereas Radiohead's kind of the complete opposite. They're all kind of gloomier, darker songs, which I love. But this album takes that to another level. I mean, there are some dark songs on here, but there's also some, lesser dark songs. But songs like, I love True Love Waits, Dex Dark, Daydreaming, Identikit as well. There's some great songs on this album. There's a couple that I could miss, like Full Stop and maybe Desert Island Disc, that they're not bad, but they're just there, and that's fine. It's a real sticky one. And I've seen people put this all over the place. I've seen people put it in the lower half, and I've seen people say it's the best album. I'm not going to any of those extremes. I think it's an A, and I think it's there in A. I think the bends is maybe I prefer it just a little bit, but I'm not. It's not a lot in it. Again, there's not a lot on it. It's a great album. It is a great album. Okay, well that is my tier list for all of Radiohead's albums. Please do let me know your opinions down below. But other than that, thanks for watching.